I told you there would be a moment. Well, guess what? The moment's here. The fight is coming. Let's go!
Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. A proud AMER Abdullah. What a first event for you got to front in Diriyah.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, when you start off, this is my first venture with Skill Challenge as the head of boxing, and how do you beat this? I mean, this is probably globally, from viewership-wise, interaction-wise, reach-wise, impression-wise, bigger than any other fight that's been done, not just here, but I think that in most fights that you'll see because of the magnitude of it. Hybrid event, 2 huge fights, and both fights delivered, man. Like, we built it up a lot, and sometimes as promoters, you build up a fight and you build up the action and you hope that the fight lives up to the hype. Not only did it live up to it, I believe, on both of the fights, but it surpassed it. You had Badu Jack put on a phenomenal fight, made history in the kingdom with a 12th round, like last round knockout. It was just, unbelievable. And then you had the Jake Paul.
Badu first, because I know you've known Badu for a long time from your time in the States. You guys are close friends, and I've seen you leading prayers with Badu and Mike Tyson behind you. Well, it was Badu and Mike Tyson, wasn't it? And what a video that was. It's I think it's your highest viewed video on YouTube, actually. That. So I know how close you are to him. So I know you got emotional. So just tell me about what you was feeling, the emotions, just watching that fight.
Look, honestly, I love Badu. He's my guy. He'll always be my guy. He was my first big fighter that I ever worked with, and he trusted me when he brought me onto the team to work with his career. And we built something very special. And I'm not talking in boxing. It was the bond that we have. My family loves his family. My wife and his wife are best friends. Our kids are best friends. Badu's a very special guy. For him to have this opportunity, mind you, it wasn't me that made the opportunity. Prince Khalid bin Abdulaziz said, listen, I want to give Badu that opportunity because he saw that same thing with him. And look, the honest part is, Badu's 39 years old. He's not 29. Even though he's a young 39, it doesn't matter. He's still 39. I retired at 38 because my body just kind of, I just lost that. But Badu is a young 39, but he is 39. And, he hates when I say it, but he is towards the end of his career. I mean, he is the end of his career. And he'll be like, I still have a lot of fights left in me, but you are towards the end of your career. When you reach that age, it does start getting towards the end. This fight would have, I don't know what would have happened if he wouldn't have won the fight. He knew there was pressure on him. He knew it was a lot of pressure. He knew that, this could be the end if he didn't pull it off. You don't bounce back at 39 after losing that. This is his first big fight at cruiserweight. I mean, look, the guys that I got him and that he fought up until this point were not world caliber cruiserweights. They just weren't. I mean, the last fight in Richard Rivera, he put on a great fight. Richard did. Badu had a horrible performance, but again, he wasn't ranked in the top 10. He's not a top 20 kind of guy. This was the biggest first test for Badu, and it was on a massive stage. It was for a WBC belt. For him to be the first Muslim to win a world title in a Muslim country, for him to be the oldest cruiserweight champion in history, for him to be the first champion to win at 168, 175, 200, man, I'll tell you, I started as soon as the referee stopped it. The very first thing that I did is I got on all fours and I made sujood and I prayed and I prostrated to God to thank him for this win. And I stayed there and I broke down and I started crying. And then I got up and I went and I hugged Prince Khalid, and he looked at me and he goes, "Stop crying." And I said, I can't help it. And then I looked over at, Fadi from Boxing Arabia, and he's crying. And we're in the ring crying. And then Prince Khalid's like, "Stop crying." And then we look over at Michael Buffer, and Michael Buffer's crying. Everybody broke down because it was just such a beautiful, surreal moment. And I thank Prince Khalid for allowing us to have that moment here. First of all and foremost, I thank God, for giving us the ability to be able to do that. And Prince Khalid made it happen, and Badu delivered.
It's worth mentioning he beat a prime champion who was touted to fight Canelo a couple of months ago.
Correct. And that fight, Michelle had asked the question, would that be a fight that you're interested in? Of course he'd be interested in that fight.
That was going to be my next question.
Of course. Canelo, look at guys, at the end of the day, this is a business disguised as a sport. And, we love boxing. We want to see great fights. But we want the guys have to make money because, 10 years after they retire, nobody really remembers their fights. And if they do, they don't pay their bills. So what is important is for them to make as much, have much of a financial upside as possible during their careers. And Badu is now lined up for a mega fight, and there are some names that are out there. And if Canelo is one of them, great. And Saudi Arabia is a great place to do that fight.
I love that. Canelo versus Badu Jack for that WBC title in Saudi. I don't know if you'd be able to get him out of his contract with Matchroom. I think he's got 2 fights on that.
Listen, we've worked with Matchroom before. We have a great relationship with all promoters, and that's what Skill Challenge does. Is we work with everybody. Matchroom has been here. The AJ fight they did twice. We've worked with Queensberry. We work with Top Rank. We work with PBC, Mayweather Promotions. We have a great relationship with all of those guys. Golden Boy Promotions. This is not about siding with one promoter or one network. It's about, like Prince Saad said, for the fighters, for the fans.
Would you bring Tommy Fury back after that win? And I'm assuming his profile is going to be going through the roof.
Of course it is. And listen, why not? We want the biggest fights. I think a great fight, would be a KSI versus Tommy Fury fight. If they exercise a rematch clause, great. They'll have to do it in a certain time frame, and if Nakisa wants to sit down and him and Jake want to make that happen, we can make that happen. I think just as big of a fight as a rematch is the KSI and Tommy Fury fight. I think that would be a very exciting fight, and why not? Again, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would love to host a fight like that.
Definitely. And last question on Deontay Wilder. Spoke to a few media outlets today, and he strongly hinted that he wants to fight in Saudi, and he's talking to you guys. When it's pretty obvious something is going on behind the scenes. When could you give us any type of news? Because that is going to be big for you guys as the first signing.
Look, I mean, there's always discussions, and we've talked with Deontay, we've talked to other fighters also. Shelly and I will sit down and we'll have a conversation of what that landscape looks like. Prince Khalid has a vision and he has an idea of what he'd like to do, and it would be sometime this year. But everybody has to be on board with it, and the first step is to have a conversation and get to know them and see if they're aligned with our vision, which they seem that they are. And Shelly's a very easy guy to work with, a very seasoned veteran of the game, and we have a great relationship. So I think it'll be an easy fight to make. And to have Deontay here, I think would be phenomenal. I think we need to see that knockout. I mean, the fans love it. Why does Mike Tyson have such a big name? Because he was knocking everybody out. And like the great Emmanuel Stewart said, the late great Emmanuel Stewart said, knockouts are what sell fights. And Deontay Wilder can deliver that. So I would love to have Deontay fight here. And if his team's on board, then we'd love to make that happen.
Definitely. Last question on yourself. You sit back, you go away and look at this event. I know your family was here today as well. I think the Prince flew them over. They must be proud of what you've achieved for the first event. How'd you top this, and how'd you go away from and relax from this?
Look, Prince Khalid brought me aside and he said, I'm going to go behind your back, but I want to let you know I'm going to bring your family here. And let me just say something on a personal note. A man like that doesn't think about the event and think about the pay-per-views and the sales and the ticket sales. He's thinking about me and my family. He said, you've been here for 2 months. I just had a newborn son, Ahmed, Allah yahmi, and I've been away from him for as long as he's been alive. Yeah, it is hard. I have 3 babies at home, but I have a great support system at home, and we know we're building something. We're building something very special, and believe me, I don't take my position for granted by any means. It's a huge position. It's a massive position. It's a massive opportunity. But for Prince Khalid to say that he was going to bring them, I just couldn't get my son a passport in time because he's a newborn. But inshallah, the next fight they'll be out here and we'll be able to celebrate this. I know what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow I go into depression because the build-up of the fight, and then it's just like boom, done. But it's a happy state, and I can't wait to go back to my family, go back to my wife, to my babies, and just be with my family again.
Amir, you come across as a humble and honest man, and I think a lot of fighters will love to work with you, so I wish you all the best. And that was my personal favourite experience ever in boxing, the whole event.
Thank you very much. Listen, man, at the end of the day, man, this is, the business doesn't have to be what a lot of people depict it to be, which is, everybody trying to screw everybody over. Business works when everybody makes out, and there's a great business to be made, and we didn't slither to where we are. We came here because we did things right, and there's your word is your bond, and integrity is everything, and everybody makes mistakes. I get that, but moving forward is that's how we're going to do this. Is we're going to do it all the right way and do it with the highest level of integrity, and we'd love to put on great fights. And like Prince Khalid said, for the fighters, for the fans.
100%. Amir, Abdullah, thank you for your time.
I told you there would be a moment. Well, guess what? The moment's here. The fire's coming. Let's go!